VAT Level 3 Indirect Tax 1.1 Introduction to VAT 1.1 Introduction to VAT. The following presentation will include explanations and discussions of Introduction to VAT, General Principles of VAT, Collection and Payment of VAT. What is Value Added Tax? VAT is a tax on the sale of goods and services and is collected on a business transaction and imports. VAT is therefore a tax on consumer expenditure. It affects everyone in the UK purchasing most goods and services. An indirect tax. Consumers do not normally notice they are paying it, unlike income tax. Income tax is paid each year by a taxpayer through the self-assessment system. HMRC and VAT law. HMRC regulates and collects VAT in the UK. VAT law in the EU is governed by the European Union directives. General Principles of VAT. VAT is a consumer-based tax with the consumer bearing the full cost of VAT charged. Businesses charge and collect VAT from their customers on chargeable supplies, i.e. goods and services. This is known as an output tax. VAT paid by a business on its purchases and costs is known as an input tax. A VAT registered business will pay the difference to HMRC. Collection and payment of VAT to HMRC. Although the consumer bears the full cost of the VAT, HMRC receives this in stages. The following illustration demonstrates how HMRC collects the VAT paid by the customer. Collection and payment of VAT to HMRC. Mr. Timber owns a small forest and sells oak to other local businesses. He is registered for VAT. Mr. Timber sells £100 of oak to a local furniture maker. As Mr. Timber is VAT registered, he must add VAT to his selling price. The standard rate of VAT is 20%. Mr. Timber will provide an invoice as follows. Selling price of £100. Add VAT at 20%, £20. The total, therefore, paid by the furniture maker would be £120. The £20 of VAT charged by Mr. Timber is output tax, i.e. the VAT charged on goods going out, and he will complete a VAT return and will pay this £20 to HMRC. The VAT return will therefore be as follows. Output tax collected of £20, less input tax suffered of nil. The total payable to HMRC is therefore £20. The furniture maker uses the oak to make tables. He is VAT registered. The furniture maker sells a table for £300 to Cheap Tables Limited. As the furniture maker is VAT registered, he must add VAT to his selling price. The furniture maker will provide an invoice as follows. Selling price of £300. Add VAT at 20%, £60. The total therefore paid by Cheap Tables Limited would be £360. The £60 of VAT charged by the furniture maker again is output tax, and he will complete a VAT return and will pay this £60 to HMRC. The VAT return will therefore be as follows: output tax collected of £60, less input tax suffered of £20. The total payable to HMRC is therefore £40. Note that the £20 of input tax reclaimed is the same amount that was charged as output tax to the local furniture maker when he first purchases the oak from Mr. Timber. Cheap Tables Limited sells a table to one of its local customers, Mr. Pine. The company is VAT registered. Cheap Tables Limited sells the table for £800. As Cheap Tables Limited is VAT registered, they must add VAT to the selling price. Cheap Tables Limited will therefore provide an invoice as follows: selling price of £800. Add VAT at 20%, £160. The total therefore paid by Mr. Pine would be £960. The £160 of VAT charged by the Cheap Tables Limited again is output tax, and they will complete a VAT return and will pay this £160 to HMRC. The VAT return will therefore be as follows: output tax collected of £160, less input tax suffered of £60. The total payable to HMRC is therefore £100. Note again that the £60 of input tax reclaimed is the same amount that was charged as output tax to the Cheap Tables Limited when initially purchased the table from the local furniture maker. Summarising the 3 stages, we can see the following. Mr. Pine was charged at £160 VAT when purchasing his table from Cheap Tables Limited. This VAT can be broken down as follows. As per Mr. Timber's VAT return, he paid a net amount of £20 to HMRC. The local furniture paid £40, and Cheap Tables Limited paid £100. This totals £160. You should notice that this is the same amount that was charged to Mr. Pine. Although Mr. Pine has not physically paid the £160 over to HMRC, HMRC has collected the amount in various stages. Hence, it is the final consumer that usually bears the full cost of the VAT. This concept gets tested frequently in the assessment, so it is important you fully understand how this process works. Just remember, it is the final consumer that usually bears the full cost of the VAT.